please take roll?
Ms. Atkins,
Here.
Mr. Hendricks,
Here.
Mr. Houston,
Here.
Mrs. McDaniel, Mr. Stoffer,
Here.
Mr. Wylage,
Here.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Here. And can I get a motion to approve the May 4th, 2020 agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Set.
All right, I'm going to give the motion to Mr. Hendricks and the second to Mrs. McDaniel.
Sounds good. I don't see anything on there we need to change. Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
and Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Commendation and good news.
Dave, do you have anything tonight?
I just have one quick thing to share. This is an example of an email that was received by Erica Knoyer, principal at Kraft, from a parent. And it's very indicative of the kinds of feelings that we get from patrons all the time as to how thankful they are for the work we're trying to do during these trying times.
Yeah, in harmony with that, I wanted to share, hopefully the board was able to, through my weekly update on Friday, take a look at the thought exchange that we launched. This is going extremely well. I just looked a couple minutes ago, and the concept of it is crowdsourcing. So it's a little bit of a better way to get a feel from a certain, however many number of people, but the number of ratings, the number of times people rated so far, it has exceeded 5,000. So it's really, I have a session tomorrow, I think at 11 or so, with the Thought Exchange folks, and they're going to help me organize and disaggregate, because it's an overwhelming amount of information, but a lot of very, very positive remarks, which of course make us feel good. But the other good thing about it is I think it's showing us some places where people have felt maybe there were some holes, or that there were, some things we need to consider, and those things receive rankings as well as people, as the crowdsourcing works. So I just was really, really pleased watching it over the weekend and seeing that number of rankings. Now, that's not the number of people, that's a couple of hundred people that have engaged, but they all have ranked the various comments, added comments, and then ranked the comments to, now it's totaling over 5,000 rankings, and we'll keep it going for a while. So it's going to be some good information, not only for us to do our best to communicate and improve over the rest of the school year as we're closed, but also it will help us along with information we don't yet know, but it will help us ramp things back up for the fall. So I encourage anyone who's on and listening, and of course board members as well, you can revisit the Thought Exchange as many times as you like. There's no limit, and would really encourage people to do that. There's even if you've ranked comments and questions that are on there, there's always new comments and questions, and you can always add new comments and questions, and you can rank others that come on. So just encourage people. It's a neat thing. It's something new that we're trying, kind of on a trial basis during COVID, and it can be used in many other functions. So just encourage you to visit Thought Exchange. And I think that's all we have for that portion, Doreen.
Okay.
Josh did add one in the chat.
Oh, yes.
Titan Hill did a Zoom for parents the other day and had an average of 45 viewers for their parent video chat on Wednesday. Topic was social emotional resources, and the recap is available on our website.
And one other note, just for anybody curious, we have, I think, beyond our board and our employees here, it looks like we have potentially 9 viewers joining us tonight. So thank you to all of you who are interested enough to come along with us in our electronic meetings. We're getting more participation in electronic meetings than we usually do in a in-person meeting. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Anyone else? Okay, we'll go on to comments and suggestions. This is a portion of our agenda that people can address the board, and need to find out, Josh, there's nothing as of right now. If there is a delay, if someone does put in a comment, just let us know. All right, we'll go on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
And we do have the updated personnel sheet in front of us.
Hiring season has not diminished just because we are in closure. So we've got a number of new folks there to approve.
Those with asterisks are new since the board packet was sent.
Is the high school math teacher the one that will be teaching the Iowa Western courses in math?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Vote, please. Okay, is Andrea still there?
Sorry, I lost sound.
All right,
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Adkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
yes. Okay, we have reports.
Yes, we have Jeff with us tonight, and he's going to share with you the summer project list that we've really been working on all year. It took a little bit of a hiatus when Jeff was out for his surgery, but I think the first time, Jeff, tell me if I'm wrong, I think this started with a little bit of a walkthrough earlier in the year. And I know specifically you and I spent some time at the high school, middle school campus and athletic campus back when it was still warm before the fall and winter set in. So this is kind of a culmination of all that work. And I just asked Jeff if he would share that with the board tonight as we're moving forward with some of these things. And I think one comment I'll make, Jeff, is that some of the things that we've already began and pursued, and anything obviously going forward, anything in the past that requires board approval will come to you individually for approval if the cost is of need to get board approval. I'll turn it over to Jeff to talk a little bit about it.
Okay. I just want to make a quick comment before I start. This report will be the last of the official Carper Swag summer project list. And for those old board members, they know exactly what I'm talking about, because a lot of times I bring in the swag theory in regards to projects. going through the projects real quick. One of the things I'm taking bids on right now is we're talking the parking lot repairs. And I'm keeping note of those areas where we're going to be under construction and that type of thing. So I'm aware of that, and I'll take that in consideration to the bidding. Moving on to the high school. We started with some EPAS cleaning last year. We want to finish up this year with that. The bleacher repair, if you remember, we did the home side last year out of a tune of about $50,000. This year, that bid came in for the visitors side this year at $51,515. We have some carpet repair replacement, 3 rooms at the high school and 1 room at the Family Consumer Science. In that room, it's the original 2001 rubber floor for that area. Dr. Beinhoff has got an idea for a teacher center in one of the classrooms where he wants some cubicles put in. I haven't secured some used cubicles for that room, but it looks like it's going to be considerably less than what my estimate at 10,000 is. High school complex cameras. Right now, that's for the high school and the complex. We've taken 1 bid for that, and I believe we're out for another bid. If you look on your sheet under sports complex, right across from that is 20,000 PPL. And what I failed to put in there was press box wiring and a concession stand regards to IT, the internet, and that type of thing. Dave could probably give you more information on that than I can. Another big thing at the middle school, we'd like to replace the carpet in the 6th grade wing, the lobby, and the other wing going to the cafeteria, replace the carpet with a floor tile. 1 bid came in at $18,195. We're working on another bid right now. The ventilation system that I have listed at the middle school is an air handling unit that was put in the middle school in 2003. It's starting to fail. This is a preventive maintenance type item that we want to include this summer. Titan Hill, we have library shelving. That hasn't been quite determined yet what we want there, but that's a big ticket item there. Electric for the garage that we put up last year for Creft, and a small additional projects there at Creft to round up down there. In operation, 3 buses that we typically bid out. We know that this year, the 3 new buses are required to have seat belts, and that's another $8,000 per unit. I've included an option for air conditioning in the 3 buses. And a lot of those would be used for, the activities and that type of thing. 2 vans need to be replaced, and I think that rounds it up. I hope to spend about $800,000. Any questions?
Yeah, a couple, Jeff, if you could.
Sad?
The front drive, we have concrete. Is that project complete, or are we looking at more concrete?
Bob, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. We finished up around the Circle Drive last year. I'd like to continue that up to the island that goes into the front. I'm going to stop there because with the construction that we're going to have within the next couple of years, I don't want to go any further. But yes, concrete is involved.
I have a question about the buses.
Yes.
Just, I don't know if it's an option. Under bus storage, I know you mentioned for activities, having some buses with air conditioning, which the kids will appreciate. But I know that when we do take traveling groups, that they have to keep their equipment on there with them.
Mm-hmm.
It does obviously tighten up space. Is it an option to purchase school buses with the underbus storage?
That would be another option, and I can include that as well. Yep.
Just a thought. I mean, I know when we take show choir and we've got band instruments, or football goes and they've got pads, and just a thought.
Yeah, that's a good thought. We had done that several years ago with one of our units, but it is an option that we can include in the two. I should have clarified, two of the three buses that I'm looking for are 84, and we need to replace the handicap with the lift, so we wouldn't have anything under that.
That's fine. I just, if you were gonna,
But
maybe
I can
use those.
include that. Yep.
Yep, that, if they were not deemed specifically activity buses, but if that's what they were going to be considered used for, it might be helpful to have the underbus storage. So just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep. Good point.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good point. Thank you.
I thought in one of the prior meetings that we talked about the Wi-Fi and the internet being ran over to the concession stand and to the football complex.
That project has already been approved.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, I think that's what Jeff was referring to, Brian, earlier when he said that wasn't on the list, but that's, Dave brought that, I think last month.
Yeah, it was recently. I thought you were talking about some expansion on that. You kind of cut out on me there, and I just wanted to clarify that. Okay.
I also see storage for 28,000 at the sports complex. What are you envisioning there?
One of the things that we'd like to do there is look at where can we put storage. At one time we thought we would put storage underneath the home site grandstand, but I don't think we're set on that yet. It would be similar to a garage that we have out next to the athletic fields, but where that would go, Bob, I'm not sure. That has to be determined yet.
Yeah, I guess it'd be appropriate to say that really hasn't been fully vetted, but it's being looked at.
Correct.
Yeah, I guess I just, it seems like we have a lot of those little buildings that keep popping up. And I mean, I would hope that we would really be looking at what we're doing on the campus right now that might alleviate the need for some of those buildings. I mean, we have equipment. If it's equipment that we're storing, we should be able to store and move most of that to get it into a central location instead of having all these little outbuildings.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
That's one of the things that Mr. Dermody and I have talked about. Try to eliminate some of those small areas and condense that into one larger area to get rid of some of those littles. So that's something that we are looking at.
Okay. The other thing I see on here is resurfacing the tennis courts. I saw that they did some work, but I know one of the things that we talked about when we were doing the auditorium discussion was the potential to put a new parking lot in. And the tennis courts were one of the areas that we identified as maybe a better potential for parking lot since they were in sort of rough shape. And we could, maybe move the tennis courts back to the back of the field, except I did see, it looks like somebody put some throwing areas been in back there.
What we did there, Bob and I, it's probably a choice of words. I put resurfaced tennis court. I did, knowing that there was some talk about additional parking in that area, I did have some crack filling done on the tennis court, and that's what's been done just a couple of weeks ago, finished up. I didn't spend the money to resurface it, knowing that there may be a change there later on.
Yeah, and if I could interject that, I believe the user group and some of the details shared back from in the design team referring to number of spaces, it would not be ample. I think that decision has already been moved away from that, really by preference of the high school and really the whole user group team, because I think to get the appropriate number of parking spaces, we'd have to take the tennis courts and we'd have to take all the green space over by the storage property. And it was a significant amount, and it seemed better. And Joel was more acceptable. I think his high school is more acceptable with putting the new parking lot as it's been depicted back there in the back that does eat into one of the practice fields. But that was deemed more acceptable, because then we'd also have to figure out where to put new tennis courts, and we'd have the cost of building new tennis courts. So I think Bob, that decision has pretty much been nixed for this project anyway.
Can you remind us what the EFS cleaning is, Jeff?
What was that again?
What is the EFS cleaning?
EFS cleaning is the material on the outside of the high school wall, is that plaster looking material. We started that towards the end of the summer. We got all the way around towards the front of the building. The lift that we were using was quite heavy, and we ended up breaking out a bunch of concrete sidewalks, so we had to stop. But then we ran out of time to finish the south side of the building. And we just used to power wash those outside walls.
Okay, and then the bottle fillers, are those brand new units that are like new drinking fountains also?
Yes, ma'am, they are. We've had a request from Titan Hill and Kreft Elementary for 2 at each building.
Okay, and they need to have their drinking fountains replaced?
They would have the older existing fountains replaced, yeah, with the bottle fillers.
Okay, I'm just familiar that you can also get retrofits that go over the, or go with your existing drinking fountains. So I just didn't know how good a shape our drinking fountains were.
Mm-hmm. I was not aware of that.
Yeah, it just depends. The UNO did that a few years ago. They were able to retrofit all their drinking fountains with bottle fillers. It just was an attachment up on the top.
Okay, all right, I'll look into that. Thank you.
Okay. If I have any information, I'll let you know. I think they were LK.
Okay.
I think they were LK.
Yeah, if we can save money, that's great.
Okay. If I can find something, I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Everyone good with what is presented for summer projects? Are you going to be able to get started on some of these a little bit earlier since we're out of school?
I've already started on some of them, yes.
Perfect.
And by the way, just as a side note, Randy Portray has started transitioning with Jeff. I think Jeff, I don't know if your meeting happened today. I know you had a meeting scheduled today.
Our meeting is now scheduled for Wednesday, Doctor.
Okay, all right. So Randy and I had talked that over the month of May, we would provide many opportunities to kind of get him up to full speed with Jeff. So it's a smooth transition when Jeff is complete and ready to take on retirement, and we'll have Randy ready to go.
Okay, any other board member questions? All right, do we have any other reports?
No, ma'am.
All right, we'll go on to discussion items. 7.01 architect update for the operations building project.
Yes, and I think we've got our architect team on. I see some of the key folks. Matt, I see you there, and Kelly. I don't know who's taking the lead, but I'll turn it over to the two of you.
I'll
Sure.
let Matt take the lead.
Gee, thanks, Kelly. Well, thanks for having us again. Last time we were together like this, we were talking about the auditorium and CTE project, but tonight we wanted to give you an update on the operations center. So really we want to touch on the schedule, give you a design update for the interiors and next steps. So the schedule, you've seen it before. We're in May already, can't believe it. And I'll spare you the May 4th jokes. But we've completed the design development documents for the operations center. We're currently getting it cost estimated updated. So by next week, we should have some costs back, be able to really align both the high school project and this operations center project to have them at the same level of cost. So by the middle of May 18th, we can have an overall cost update, but we'll talk more about that later. You can go on to the next slides. And I don't know if Zach is here, but Zach Johnson is our project architect and team lead. But really the plan, as you've seen it, hasn't changed a whole lot. We've just been adding a lot of detail. The bus maintenance off to the south or the right of your screen has a lot more notes into it. So we're starting to identify a lot of the equipment that's in there, a lot of good information from our user group back from the middle of April. So we're identifying things like eye wash stations, where the bus lifts, the portable bus lifts will be stored, tank storage, flammable cabinets, getting all that good information in there. The administrative part of the building, we've been plugging in copiers, casework, things like that. And you can kind of see, if I could maybe draw on the screen, maybe it doesn't allow me, but right in the middle to the plan room and the electrical room, we've created a little alcove for some of that equipment to be stored. That's going to be accessed by a lot of the people working the area. And we'll get into some more interior views of the space, and then the storage area, the grounds maintenance. We're just, again, plugging in a lot of good mechanical, electrical information from Alvines and such. So the next sheet, the next slide kind of digs into that area. It shows that more in detail. We are showing a protective shelter where the plan room, the electrical room, and storage room is in the middle. So in case of a weather event, people have to go. Added more glass at the front lobby, the vestibule to allow visibility, and we'll have some more views of that as well. So.
Hey, Matt, could I interject and ask a question?
Sure.
I see Zach is on as well, but I'm just curious. I know last time various board members had asked about the potential of rotating the building. It looks like that's depicted on these last two slides, if I'm seeing that right, up on the top side. Is that depicting shifting of the building? Could you, I don't know, maybe that's going to be mentioned later. I'm sorry if I'm jumping ahead, but I thought since it was on these slides, I'd ask
No,
that.
that's fine. We actually don't have a site plan, but, and Kelly, correct me if I slap my hand if I'm saying something incorrectly. But Lamprey Nearson did look at, with all of the circulation around the middle school, They did shift the building a little bit. I think we talked about a 10-degree shift.
We did get it back. We did shift it a few degrees, but
Okay.
until we know if we can move dirt further south, let's say, we really can't shift it anymore because that would put construction on adjacent property.
Thank you.
And then as far as the centerpiece of the building, we're still showing some outdoor patio space, some mechanical space for some air handling units, things like that. So yeah, we're just plugging away, getting a lot of good information, and setting ourselves up nicely for June 30th completion date. And then the next few slides are more interiors, or I'm sorry, exterior reminder view. So not a exchange for the exterior, still using precast, the metal panel, as you've seen it before. You can probably one detail is the expanded window just below the LCCS operation sign to allow that visibility. And then the next few slides are more interior. And Zach, I don't know, do you want to take over from here?
Sure. So what we wanted really to do was translate that very simple, pragmatic exterior of the building, nice quality durable materials, and bring that to the interior space here. So this is the actual lobby entry space that you would experience right when you enter the building. Very open. We have really nice high ceilings in that space. You can see the windows on the right side of that image allow views to the people entering the building. You can see we have some acoustic treatments because this space is really intended to be very simple materials, very durable materials, concrete floors, structure exposed above. We really need to treat that space acoustically. So this design element feature really highlights the kind of volume of the space, but brings some acoustic properties for noise cancellation. And you can see the transportation office here on the left, plenty of storage there, provides a sliding window access to the driver's hall area, and we'll have a view of that. Main reception desk here, really a translation of the exterior of the building, just that simple angle. Really nice solid surface tops there. We're providing an ADA solid surface countertop as well. And you can kind of move, you can go to the next image, Matt. And here's another view looking out from where the receptionist is going to be. You can see the good view access there, looking down the hallway. We have a really simple palette of materials, just a really nice translation of the kind of exterior, very durable materials to the interior. So you can go to the next image. And then here's that view you would experience when you're at the reception desk and somebody's approaching the building. We extended the windows as far as we could here. So there's going to be a lot of view access there. And then right when somebody's entering here at the main entrance, you'd be able to see them as well. And then we have that very transparent vestibule there. So very good site access for seeing people coming in and out of the building. Are there any questions relating to the reception lobby area?
So, Zach, so this would be like the main entry point for everybody during the day and then after hours, or other than staff hours?
Not the bus driver entrance, no, but public entrance, yes. And the staff entrance and the bus driver entrance is actually in the back of the building off the parking lot. This would be more of public parking out here and some staff.
Okay, so then those doors would all be hard coded, so we control who gets in, who gets out.
Correct.
Correct, yeah.
There's also a buzz-in. There will be a buzz-in system. That desk looks nice and clean right there in the image, but it's not going to look like that in real life. So there's going to be a buzz-in system there, so no one can get in unless they get buzzed in during the day. Yeah. Believe there's also going to be a second station for buzz-in in the transportation office in the event that the receptionist is not there. And that's why they have a lot of glass on the wall too.
Right.
Yeah, so really the main primary feature space in this whole building is going to be this driver's training room. And we really wanted to bring it to the highest level we could in terms of performance. Again, it's got exposed structure above, so we really need to treat this space acoustically well. So the feature element is these acoustic baffles from the lobby, bringing them into the driver's training. And then here on the left image, you can see what we're providing for casework, for a refrigerator, vending, sink, dishwasher. So it's going to be able to serve the function of the space well. And then, so that's a view looking out towards the main public parking. And then the other view to the right is looking the opposite direction, where we have tackable surface wall, where we can provide drivers information, safety information. And then we have 2 projector screens, which are being highlighted right there as well in that space. And it's designed to seat about 80 people, roughly. It's a very acoustically treated space. We have carpet on the floors, acoustical treatment above. And so we're really trying to do well to cancel out any noise in that space.
Just mention for especially viewers that are on paying attention, as we've developed this, as a user group has worked on it. This is it really is a good space to consider, you know, beyond just, of course, it's great to have a nice driver training room. We don't have one that's big enough right now. This will be very nice and respectful to our drivers and our transportation folks. But this is if you think about our district and you consider our current boardroom, the boardroom is really the only facility like a boardroom that we have. And it does limit, we do have sometimes functions that happen at night that would be very appropriate for a space like our boardroom. And this gives us another option in the district as well. So I'm just pointing that out as the functionality goes well beyond, you know, the driver training facility. I expect that this will be a highly utilized space for the district.
And to that point, Dr. Gnost, I think when we're talking about performance requirements and acoustics, these are very cost-effective materials. It's drywall, it's paint, it's carpet. But what Zach and the team have tried to do is really kind of use those in unique ways and elevate the space to a higher level. So while you're seeing baffles and things like that, we need some acoustic treatment in that room somehow, and to make it functional for many different scenarios. So yeah, wood doors, things like that, wood for warmth, the color palette, the material itself. It's a very cost-effective way to do it.
Thanks, Matt. I like that you've depicted social distancing too.
Yeah, all 80 bus drivers aren't in there at the moment.
Exactly.
During this image.
Just another view of that space. Furniture is just a placeholder for now. It's just to kind of fill up the space and make it feel like it's lived in. But we understand that that's to be figured out.
And they already have, district already has a bunch of tables and chairs.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, so we went with a really simple color palette to kind of suit the building's function, but we did want to bring in some color. So here on the left is the main conference room near the reception lobby area. So bringing in a nice full window there out to the public space, just nice glass fronts on that conference room. And then the image on the right is actually the break room. So the break room in the back of the building by the patio area. Again, we want to bring just a kind of pop of color in there, but keep the warmth of the casework, the cabinets. And then you can see the baffles there as well to really help with acoustics in that space. But again, you can kind of see the warmth of the casework translating between the driver's training and now the break room. And then again, we have the kind of tackable surface walls back here for any additional driver related information. So I think the overall space is translating well from one room to the other. It's not complete mismatch. So hopefully that's translating in these images. And again, a window on the right image just out to the patio, the back area. So bringing in a lot of natural light as much as we can into these spaces.
And as far as next steps go, we just have a few dates we'd like to throw out there as we're moving towards the finish line. And certainly we can go back to any of the images if there are any more comments, but May 13th is the design development cost estimate. We're gonna get that back next week and go through the numbers, really hone in on towards that project budget. May 18th, we hope to set another date with you to be able to review total project cost for the operations building and the high school auditorium and CTE projects. Like I said, both projects will be at similar stages, so it'll be a really good place to compare apples to apples to get our arms around both projects. There may be some user group follow-up based on additional feedback. We're continuing to build in the detail, and it's always good to get to measure twice, cut once to make sure we get the right information in our documents. Then June 15th, we want to have a 95% review of the documents with all of you, so we can go to bid right after June 30th is when we want to have documents complete. And we'll continue to hone in on these dates as we move forward. But that gives you the lay of the land as we're looking towards the next couple of months.
Can we go to the first design or first page with the entire building? Yeah. Is there a reason why the van on the right side, the van where you work on the vans, yeah, right there is at the front of the building instead of at the back when they park?
Yeah, we did look into that. We actually had it in the back, but there was some other potentially barrels and equipment that was going to have to go out through that exterior wall, and we didn't want that sitting in the front of the building. So we worked with the user group actually and asked if they had a preference or if that would be a problem if the van maintenance door was on the front of the building as opposed to looking at barrels or anything else that might be out there. And they didn't have any preference. They would rather, I guess, look at the overhead door than that might be equipment might be sitting out back. That's really the only reason.
Okay, and then by the patio, or is that right next to the patio? Are those the HVAC air conditioner? Is that the units?
One is the bigger one in the back, and then the front one is the electrical transformer.
Is that going to be noisy?
Shouldn't be too.
Yeah, there will be some acoustics, but nothing that's uncomfortable. It really shouldn't be a problem.
Well, I mean, I sit on my deck and I hear the air conditioner going. I'm just thinking of people sitting there and hearing a larger unit going. So that's what I was wondering.
I think the air conditioning unit may be actually the condensing unit. I might be wrong on this, but I think it's up on the roof, Zach, isn't it? On the district storage roof. Because there's also the air handling unit. The bigger air handling unit is actually inside of the district storage room. It's on a platform towards that front wall there.
Kelly, the condensing unit's on the exterior. It's the other unit down low.
It is? Okay, I was wrong, sorry.
So lower noise.
Yeah, so the main HVAC unit is actually inside of district storage.
Do any other board members have questions?
I guess, what do we envision that storage being used for that's off to the, the one end of the building?
Oh, the small storage?
No, the small storage I know is grounds and stuff, the larger storage area.
I think he means district storage.
On the left side?
Off the left.
Yeah.
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 The area where the cursor is now.
Yeah, Bob, I'll interject a little bit and then anybody else can follow. We've got Brian is on the user group, Daryl's on the user group. There's initially the decision for that space had a lot to do with losing the other two buildings, the current maintenance building and the current Drama South building. We've I guess shrunk that up quite a bit from what it was, but that's mainly district storage of anything that would come in, shipments coming in, paper storage. Jeff, you can help me with what else would occupy that space. But the idea being that, again, it would, as you know, we don't like the way they necessarily appeared when we walked through, but the buildings that we are currently emptying out were chock full of storage. Now, we're not looking to have space just to fill it up with anything. I think Brian's made a good point in the past that we don't want to have space just to fill up because we can, but we think it's a reasonable amount to handle all the district things that are currently stored. So Jeff, can you interject additional things that would be stored in that area?
Yeah, the other things that we could store in there is things like if we have a few spare student desks, some of the things that we have to replace during the school year, we'd like to put in there. We definitely do not want it to turn out to be another industrial arts. We won't allow that to happen. There are some items and some material that we need to store just in case of need to be replaced during the school year.
And I guess also would be excess equipment. I mean, sometimes you just because we purchase new, we upgrade, it doesn't mean that what we have we want to throw out or that we need to get rid of it. So districts always have the ability to store stuff. And again, Brian, don't shudder when I say that, because I know you've been very appropriately vocal about that we just don't want to create space that, for the sake of filling it up. Not at all the case, but ultimately, I think even the board, going back to the night that we met and toured those spaces, it was the board's decision, not the user group's decision. It was the board's decision to go ahead and demolish those two buildings and to just make sure that we incorporated enough storage here to allow that, because the board did not feel keeping those two buildings was a good idea.
And just
and I think
overall,
also
okay, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say also that we talked through, the ability to allow us to buy some items in bulk versus taking multiple deliveries. I agree with you, Dr. Canos. There is a need to have just some generalized storage that shouldn't necessarily be in any one building. So that's kind of how I've been thinking about it as well.
Yeah, and I would just wanted to mention that we did go down, like the 2 buildings that are going to be demolished total about 25,000 square feet. And we've taken that down to 10,000 square feet, so less than half in those 2 areas of like the district storage and the grounds maintenance.
And maybe one other point, just on the storage side too, in conjunction with the auditorium project and the expansion of the CTE wood shop area, there's storage there too. But the idea would be that that storage will handle anything for the auditorium on the high school end of things. So then you stop and you think, well, what of that stuff may also, or could there be similar stuff stored relative to the middle school auditorium? It's not like we're going to stop using the middle school auditorium. So that would be probably the appropriate storage space for anything from the middle school in that regard too, because we're not building it on the high school end to be schlepping stuff from the middle school over to the high school storage.
That's correct, because they'll both still, they'll have separate risers and all the functional pieces that they need for each of the 2.
Yeah, no, I was more asking you, is this some place where we could, capture some of that athletic storage instead of having to continue to have those little pop-up places show up on our property?
Bob, my thought on that is how do we recondition that storage / locker room facility at the back of the football complex and something along those lines? This is quite a ways away from the fields. So that would be my ask on some of that is how to repurpose some of that space.
Yeah, that building definitely has to be on the agenda in a long range plan. I'm sure that's something Jeff gets to pass the torch on, but Randy and I will be talking quite a bit about a plan for the future, because that building, I think you all know, has been failing for a while and it will continue to do so. It's not a quality building. So, but great point, Brian. That would definitely be an opportunity when we address that building. It would be an opportunity to address storage as well.
Okay, just wanting to make sure we keep that in the forefront.
Absolutely.
Is there any other questions?
Just one, and I'm not sure who's handling the discussion with the city, but in the permitting process and the fee process associated with school projects, if you look at this, if we pay the city a fee, essentially we're hitting the taxpayers to pay for something that then we're paying to the city, who's passing our costs and taxes along again. And I know that in some of the projects they've waived fees for school facilities. I don't know if they've done of ours, but I think we should have that discussion with them about it.
I haven't been aware of any fee being waived for any
Haven't for ours.
projects, but maybe smaller ones, like those pop-up buildings you're talking about. I don't know. We're involved with those, but there's always been fees paid. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. That's true. City Council Bluffs does charge.
I've asked several times when I went down and paid for a permit if they would waive the charge for permit, and exactly what you said, Bob. I said I don't understand why the city requires a permit from the school district. And the answer I've always gotten was, that's the way we do it. So I didn't win anything there.
Okay, I'll have a talk with DK off the line.
When will we see a design or a firmer design on the traffic flow?
That is a whole separate subject that really wasn't part of this project, but we have been working on it. We have met. And Lamper Nearson, I believe, has a direction to go with that seemed to be agreeable with, is that your understanding, Dr. Knaus?
Yeah, so Doreen, there was some extensive, one day we met for a really long time, really involved both Mandy and Joel for the functionality of their buildings. And we ended with something that I believe Mandy was real pleased with, and Lamper Nearson is currently drawing that up to bring it back. I think that Joe told me last week that he would have something this week for Mandy and Joel to look at. But what it really accomplished, which is a good thing, and from my point of view, I know I've been vocal about this in the past. I sit out there in the morning when I start my mornings at the middle school, and I'm just completely uncomfortable with the confluence of bus traffic and parent traffic. Staff traffic's not that much of an issue because they're there earlier for the most part, but so that's what it solved. It solved dividing the two and not having the two in the same place, which this project allows for that to happen. So it was more so talking about bringing buses around the back of the building instead of the front of the building, and leaving the current area over on the north of the middle school as a predominantly parent drop off and staff parking. So I think it was a good conversation. I think Mandy in particular was really pleased with it, and Joe and his team were putting that to the concept, to a drawing that works with this building and the way it is sitting. And I believe Joe told me that we'd see something this week on that to review.
Okay, good. Does anyone have any other questions?
Do we have any information on that 4-inch gas main that's supposed to be running along the current property line?
The only information we have is that Black Hills has no record of it. And they said they don't own anything on this property.
It's a really interesting conversation, Daryl, to hear it take place, because it's drawn, it's there. We know it's there. I think, correct, Kelly? We know that it's there because.
Well, we don't know for sure. It came off of old utility as-built drawings provided by the school district. But it's going to have to be somehow tested, and I believe that Black Hills has offered to help do that. Even though it's not their line, they've said they'd try to help find whatever's there.
Did I recall when we had the meeting last week with the contractor and the subs? It's probably beyond my understanding, so forgive me, but I thought the one subcontractor was referring to a culvert that was identified, maybe where things intersect or something. And I thought he acknowledged that. I thought I heard him acknowledge that it was there, but maybe I was hearing something different.
I can't say that I was listening at the moment he said that.
Yeah, it was a side conversation, Kelly. It was a side conversation. It wasn't. So I'm probably speaking out of turn, but I think it's still a mystery, Daryl. That
yeah, we're still trying to find out if it and where it goes if it does. But
I do think
it does not belong to Black Hills.
I do think that Jeff helped me understand anyway, that there was some assumption, I think even on some of the engineers were thinking that possibly it used to be relative to the old elementary school.
Correct.
And Jeff cleared that up with his knowledge, saying that that's not how the gas entered the old elementary school. So it's really a mystery what it is and who owns it and why it's there.
Well, I mean, we know it's there, but if Black Hills doesn't know it's there and they don't know who owns it, okay, is it live?
We don't know. That's why it has to be tested.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's what we're trying to do. That was the next step, is to, since Black Hills did actually come out there, but they of course didn't flag any lines on the school property because it's considered private utilities. But they did check all of their records for that 4-inch line and said that they do not have anything there.
Do they have any records of any other gas lines in the area?
I'm sure they do, but I couldn't tell you right offhand. I haven't seen any of their documents. Lamper Nearson may be able to answer that. We don't have them on tonight because we weren't planning on talking about gas lines, to be honest, but that's
Right.
something that they would have probably the most knowledge of, because they were out there, I believe, when Black Hills came out to take their look.
Okay.
So Joe Zadina probably has, or Caleb Van Wielden would have more information on that.
Okay, well, that line may have been in since the 40s or maybe before that.
Very, very possible.
Mhm.
Well, the positive part is I would doubt that it'll have to be relocated. We had those dollars in our estimate. Because if it's not Black Hills and it's not our service, it doesn't need to be there.
Yeah, we got to find out if it's actually live so that it doesn't, in case it goes downstream somewhere, let's say. I don't know how it would cross that little ditch back there to serve anything down, say, where the existing transportation center is. I don't know.
Well, when I call in for locates for excavation, they've got a map and they can tell you where all the services are running right along in the road easements. And that's what's odd about this one, is it's not running along a road easement unless it's a big line, let's say a 24-inch gas main that's just taken off across through the countryside, which I've worked around those too. And they know exactly where those are at. And that's why this is odd.
Right.
It's even there running through a parcel like that when it's just a small main.
Yeah, they had other information out along Harry Langdon of their lines, but nothing crossing this property there.
Okay.
Yeah, I would not be surprised that it's an abandoned line that used to serve where that hairpin is. It sits on the corner of our Titan Hill property.
And then they said, I don't think that it serves that gas station across the road either. They had a record of where that service was, but
Yeah, that's just based on my 20 years of business in the gas utility business.
Okay, anything else? All right, thank you very much. We will go to 7.02 Power School licensing renewal.
I will turn
Thank
that
you.
over to Dave Black for any additional comments that he may have.
We annually need to renew our platform for school or for student information management. And that's what this is. That's what we're asking you to do tonight, is to approve the annual renewal. This is really in two pieces. One is for the Student Information Management System, the SIS portion of PowerSchool, which provides all of our reporting, all of our attendance, grades, grade books, all student information and teacher information to the state. The back-end server processes that make all that happen. This is software that runs on 2 servers that communicate with each other within our system. And the other piece is the registration, online registration product that enables parents to register for school, pre-register for kindergarten, and moves all the registration data forward to our student information management system as well. So it's really one product with 2 large pieces that are separately licensed. We've also been using PowerSchool since 2007. And at this point in time, we see no reason to move to a different platform. There are only 3 platforms approved to be used in the state, and PowerSchool is one of them.
Is there any board member that has any questions? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to 7.03, Illuminate Data and Assessment Licensing Renewal.
Illuminate is the platform that provides access to the assessment systems that we use in the district that are tied to our curricula. Teachers use it to create assessments, both on the fly and from item banks that are part of the system. That's that Inspect Plus item bank and National Science Standards pre-builts. That's what those portions are. Included with this then is student access, integration with Google Classroom. We also use it for all of our data warehousing in the system. So building leadership teams turn to it for analyzing data in an aggregate fashion across grade levels, across buildings, between classrooms, etc. We've been partnered with Illuminate with this product now. This will be our 3rd year.
Is there any questions? Okay, thank you. We'll go on to, is it Edgenuity license and hosting agreement renewal?
Edgenuity is the product, if you recall, we used to use a product called Odyssey that was a instructional support product, computer adaptive tests, curriculum being delivered. We used it K-12. Several years ago, we dropped the K through 8 portions of the product and went strictly with the Odyssey platform to support our credit recovery. And what this represents is a move away from that old Odyssey product, which is no longer available. It was legacy last year, and we were forced into a migration path or needed to seek a different product after this past year. We piloted this new product at the high school level with 25 licenses. And what this does is replaces our Odyssey platform with the new product wholeheartedly. It provides a K-12 comprehensive online course palette for teachers at the high school to choose from. It will completely support all of our credit recovery courses, as well as provide opportunities for ACT prep, all the entire course palette of the high school is going to be accessible for them. Now, it does represent a slight larger asking. Notice it's 16.5. We actually spent 11.2 this past year, but this moves from 25 concurrent licenses and an old product platform to an unlimited number of licenses at our high school level for the entire platform. It's going to be a great asset for us. Heaven forbid we have to start the year without students in the classroom. This could provide for online supplemental coursework for us that would really help provide online services for kids at the high school level. The primary target will continue to be credit recovery at this time, but now we have the capability to look far beyond that.
Is there any comments or questions?
I guess I might add to Dave's point, just for the board to understand, you know, if we were to experience another closure, and I know everybody hates to even remotely think about that, but or an extended, you know, this puts us in a better situation. I get a lot of questions from people that really don't understand why we didn't, at least at the high school, pursue with the state a required online learning opportunity for kids, and you know, where we would grade their work and so on and so forth. There are a lot of reasons for that. The main reason being that for that to happen, the state wanted us to basically say that we would have a program that would completely emulate school in session, and there was no way we felt that we could do that. The same with 90+% of the schools all across Iowa who have all stayed. Very, very few have gone to required, and those who did, a lot of times they're small, very small, with small populations, or they have an online system already in place, like the Des Moines School District. So I'm not saying that this is a turnkey product, but my point that I thought, you know, just to echo what Dave said, that it's going to put us in a better situation if we wanted to in the future create, especially for our high school, a more required like situation. We'd be at least in better shape to potentially do that. It would aid us in that effort. And that's clearly the way we need to be planning for the future. Now that we, in all my years in education, once you experience something like we're experiencing now, you better not sit around with your hands, or sit on your hands and not have something in place for the next time. So it all makes sense.
Absolutely. Any board members have any questions? Okay. We'll go to 7.05, late filed open enrollment out application for 2021 school year.
Need to do a closed session for that discussion.
We can go into closed session, so I would need a motion to go into closed session per Iowa Code 21.51A to review or discuss records which are required or authorized by state or federal law to be kept confidential, etc.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wylage,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes.
All right. Josh, are you,
Here he goes.
go, join the
Great.
breakout room.
Is everyone back in?
Looks like it.
Okay. Is Amy the Galaxy Note 10 Plus?
That's me. Sorry.
No
A little
problem.
chaotic here tonight, so I just decided to listen more than be on screen.
No problem. Okay, we are out of closed session, so the next item on the agenda is comments and suggestions from our audience. This is a second time during our agenda that you can address the board. And Josh Dillon is saying, hearing none. We'll go on to action items. Okay, 9.01 Power School licensing renewal.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion the board approve renewing our Power School licensing from a specified totaling $34,322.75.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.02 Illuminate Data and Assessment Licensing Renewal.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion the board approve renewing our Illuminate licensing as specified totaling $19,395.44.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.03 Edgenuity License and Hosting Agreement Renewal.
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion to approve renewing our Ingenuity licensing as specified totaling $16,500.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. 9.04 Late Filed Open Enrollment Out Application for 2020, 2021, correct?
Madam Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Hendricks.
I'd like to make a motion that the board deny this open and roll out application.
Second.
Any discussion? Vote, please.
Mr. Hendricks,
Yes.
Mr. Houston,
Yes.
Mrs. McDaniel,
Yes.
Mr. Stoffer,
Yes.
Mr. Wyledge,
Yes.
Ms. Atkins,
Yes.
Mrs. Sheffel.
Yes. Items of interest and future board meetings. First of all, I'd like to say welcome, Travis. First board meeting, official board meeting is now done, and you're gonna get used to these Zoom meetings, I tell you what. So our next board meeting will be May 18th. Is that correct?
Will that be at 5 o'clock again? Are we just going with that?
Well, we have been for the, I think we started that with the virtual meetings and I was receiving positive feedback about it. So as long as the board tells me to continue, we'll continue at 5 o'clock.
I think it's fine.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Works for me.
I can get my golf in before 5.
It's kind of rainy. Is there anything else before we adjourn?
Just to say welcome, Travis.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah, welcome, Travis.
Glad you're here.
Yes. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
And I guess if everyone says all in favor,
Hi.
Aye.
Bye.
Bye.
if you click off, then we know you agreed. So,
Mrs. Shell, Doreen,
yes.
there are, those licenses agreements require signature from
Okay.
you- from you. Is that something you could print and just mail?
I can do that, or I can run up tomorrow.